This video is sponsored by Audible, home to the widest selection of digital audiobooks, including bestsellers, new releases, exclusives, and much more. Yeah, it's a real sponsor this week. A few months back, I threw it out there on Twitter that I wanted to make a video concerning The Walking Dead, which is a subject matter that I haven't really spoken about, because I've just been storing it all up for this moment. Now, I made that tweet around episode 1 of the latest season. Wait, spoilers! Spoilers for all things Walking Dead, including the comic and even the video games that I haven't played and won't mention again. So that means all the major deaths and events. Glenn's death, this walrus's death, others, lots of others, who cares? And I say who cares because I really don't. And that's what I want to talk about today. Why I kinda hate The Walking Dead. Not all of it, just almost everything about it. No, that's not even true. Just the amount of enormous potential wasted in most of the episodes. So we'll get into that, and at the end I'll be giving away a loot crate as per usual. That's the whatever these Sunday videos are called guarantee that I guarantee. Okay, so The Walking Dead had such a promising start. And a lot of that has to do with director Frank Darabont as its showrunner. He's the man responsible for bringing the comic adaptation to life, and played a huge role in casting, special effects, and the overall plot. And if you're wondering what happened to him, well, according to Darabont himself, AMC is run by sociopaths who fired him, and as a result, he's seeking $280 million in damages. Now, the drop in quality of this show happens almost instantaneously. Season 2 is awful. Poorly paced, boring, mostly set on a farm or something. I don't know. I actually skipped most of this season with the idea being to circle back around when they got to the prison, which we actually saw at the end of season 2. Or was that a different prison? Because it kind of looks like a different prison to the one we get at the start of season 3. And you might say, yeah, it's probably the same prison but from a different angle or whatever. Sure, maybe. Then why is season 3 set 8 months after season 2? What, do they spend the better part of a year spinning in a circle in the woods? I mean, everyone in this show's a total idiot, so probably. The most disappointing thing though about season 2 is clearly that Darabont had set up stories that never came into play. But don't take my word for it. Just listen to Sam Witwer, star of various Star Warses and Being Human. He has first-hand knowledge.
He's like, look, I think it'd be really cool to tell a prequel story about how Atlanta fell. Do Black Hawk Down, both the zombies, and have a few of the main characters pass through. But it's like a Twilight Zone episode, the lead will be you. And your character will go through and you're a soldier and all these horrible things happen and the chain of command breaks down and eventually you have to take out your superior officer to save a bunch of people, and then eventually in the end you get bit. And then you're crawling, and he's pitching me this, and then you're crawling, blah, blah, and you crawl into a tank, and you have this grenade, and you're going to blow yourself up, and then you're like, you know what, and you set the grenade next to you, and then you die. And then we reprise the scene from the pilot, where Rick crawls in the tank, and there's a zombie there, and if you look closely, I played that zombie because we were setting up this prequel that we were going to do. That's me in the tank as the zombie who goes, and Rick blasts him, and then he gets deafened, and then he gets that grenade which saves them at the end of the season. Not doing it now, not happening. Why? Because AMC wanted to save a few bucks.
So everything since his departure has been this strange balance of disjointed storytelling and very transparent reactions to what AMC think audiences want to see. Now, if you've never read the comics, and you probably should, because imagine the big moments of the TV series, but with actual interesting character interactions between them, then there's a moment where the governor makes a big push for the prison, and in the ensuing madness, there's this enormous and terrible bullet-riddled battle with huge casualties on either side. This event is teed up for the end of season 3, and I, like many, thought, well, all this is going to culminate in this moment. 16 episodes of whatever this watered-down version of the governor is about. I got through that, and now he's going to take the prison, and it's going to be insane. Except he doesn't. Him and his men rock up, and they run around for a bit, and then they run away, and then the season ends or something, I don't remember. Whether this was reactionary or just a way to drag out the storyline, you may remember his return. I mean, you should. It happens like 8 episodes later, where we get the event that was supposed to happen a whole half a season before. Great. And it's the same thing again with the death of Glenn. Remember when Glenn was supposed to have died and everyone thought, oh yeah, this makes sense because, he dies in the comics. But not at this exact moment, but whatever, they make some changes. But then it just turned out that he crawled under a dumpster, so he returns only to have his head caved in at the beginning of the next season, because the previous season left us with that remarkable cliffhanger of who was going to die. Like it matters. I don't care about Glenn. And if I did, any emotional attachment was exhausted the first time that he died. And by that I mean when he crawled under the dumpster. And that's the thing about the show. I don't care about any of these people. If you put a gun to my head and a gun to my balls, then I'd say, yeah, you know, Carol had that cool episode where she killed all those cannibals. And I guess I like Daryl because he has a crossbow and a motorcycle. And I suppose this makes him cool. But I tell you who I don't like. Rick. And I don't know why anybody else does. One minute he's all like, I'm in charge, everybody follow me, I'm the sheriff. And the next minute he doesn't want any responsibility anymore, and everyone's on their own, every man for themselves. But then the next minute he's covered in blood, dumping a zombie, Walker, in front of a crowd of people, telling them that he's in charge. And he's no nonsense. And he confirms this by shooting a man in the head in front of his wife, who he then has sex with. That's a bold but confusing leadership tactic. And that's one thing this show isn't. Bold. It thinks it is. It thinks it's being all edgy and controversial, but it won't have Rick's wife and newborn child riddled with bullets like they were in the comics. To be fair, not that I particularly mind. That's not some imagery that I yearn for. But regardless, instead of cutting it out altogether, we just get this bloody bassinet implying that the baby was eaten. But who cares, because then the baby shows up later. What a fake out. You got me. Because that's the thing with this show. Unless you see someone die, and even then not always, Glenn, there's a good chance that they'll be back. Most of the time, nobody important dies anyway. We just get a series of uninteresting zombie scuffles, which totally baffles me as to how these situations happen in the first place. Now, credit where credit's due. The zombie makeup and effects are incredible. But I'm bored with all the zombie killing. Every now and then we get a good one, but other than that, there's some dramatic music. Somebody probably falls over and then gets their leg grabbed at, and then everybody gets away. And they do this with characters that you could just kill because who cares? And speaking of, we just got an episode about this person. I can't remember her name, and that speaks volumes. But what a boring turn of events that features characters that weren't present since episode 12 or something of the previous season. So if you're going to cut back to someone we haven't seen in a while, maybe make it someone people fondly remember, or even remember at all. And if you plan on expanding on a little-known character, great. Maybe do something unexpected with them, like develop them as a person. Weave a rich tapestry that adds a layer of depth. Or, you know, just have them go on a boring journey that has no bearing on the main narrative. I mean, we'll probably see this camp again at some point, but if we don't, whatever. And you know why we're getting episodes like this? Well, I suspect because they must be paying Jeffrey Dean Morgan by the minute, but also because this show is built around the big thing at the end of each season or the mid-season breaks, usually featuring a significant moment from the comics, and then everything else in between is just treading water. Because it's not like a slow burn that builds towards a major event. It's just a collection of pointless and serious and boring conversations between idiots concerning what they're going to do about whatever the big problem is this season. Until things come to a head for whatever reason, and Daryl shoots his crossbow, Michonne swings a sword, and Carl gets in a weird tussle that they definitely should have shot more than one take of, but they didn't for some reason, and then they just left this in. And you know what else? I know Negan isn't going to take Carl's arm. You know why? Because that's a difficult special effect to maintain over a long period of time. Remember when Merle lost his hand and clearly they just made him ball up his fist and stuff it inside this tube? No one's wrist is that long. So what are they going to do? They're going to green screen out Carl's arm for every shot that he's in for the rest of every series that he's in? Of course they're bloody not. That's probably why we haven't seen Rick lose his hand like he has in the comics, because there's apparently no budget for something like that, aside from stuffing your hand inside a tube. And you know what? Another thing. Are we really still doing the zombies sneaking up on people trope? I mean, come on. They make nothing but noise as they slowly lumber towards you, but then we get moments like this. Where the hell did he come from? And not only that, where the hell did these guys come from? What is this universe? But I'm going to take a minute, because I choose to say some nice things about The Walking Dead before kicking it one final time. It's a good looking show on the whole. Like I said, it's a marvel of special effects on a TV budget, despite AMC, at least in the past, being reluctant to put proper money into it. And you know what? The performances, they're pretty good on the whole, despite most characters being not interesting or having incomprehensible motivations. And of course, there are still standout moments and episodes. Negan's introduction, the prison battle, the second one, not the first one. This fight. I can't imagine doing these moments any better. Kudos. But look at these ratings. They're dipping. I mean, they're still massive. It's still massive numbers. But there is a decline. Because like I said, this show is built around big mid-season and end-of-season finales. And people have twigged that you can just tune out and then tune back in when that big thing happens. The big still. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe most people just love this show. Or maybe a lot of the people are watching are like me, just begrudgingly going along with the whole thing, just willing the show to be better than it is. And heaven forbid they end up off book like Game of Thrones is. Who have handled that really well, I might add. What are they going to tread water in between? It's going to be treading water between treading water. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's not so bad, because even if The Walking Dead is sporadic in its quality, worst case scenario, I can stop watching and settle for the likes of Game of Thrones, or Bloodlines, or Black Mirror, or Better Call Saul, or Rick and Morty, or The Night Of, or Westworld, or JonTron, or Silicon Valley, or The Last Man on Earth, or some of True Detective, and Fargo, and this picture of Samuel L. Jackson in a bucket hat, and Atlanta, or Vikings, I've kind of dropped off, I've got to go back to it. Also Horace and Pete, that's pretty good, and so on. Alright, I think I'm done. Wait, one more thing. AMC sound department. Knock it off with the cicadas or crickets or whatever's going on. The whole time watching, all I hear is this. Just a white noise of chirping. And for fuck's sake, Carl, get a haircut. And that's not just reference to the fact that you look ridiculous, which you do. You live in a world populated by grabby monsters. And you must be constantly just pushing your hair out of your one remaining eye. You have 50% vision as it is. If I was your dad, I'd pin you to the ground and forcibly shave your stupid head. You know what? I hope you get it caught in a wood chipper. Alright, it's YouTube ad time. Audible is offering a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership if you go to audible.com/Sunday. There you can browse the unmatched selection of audio programs, download a title for free, and start listening. It's that bloody easy. It's too easy. Their content covers a bunch of stuff. They've got audiobooks, original audio shows, news, comedy, all from the leading audiobook providers, broadcasters, entertainers, magazines, and newspapers, plus business information providers. Now I've got a few recommendations, all free. Free book. If you like The Walking Dead, the comics, and also, the TV show, I guess. There's a series that's set in the world of The Walking Dead by Robert Kirkman, the original creator, that follows the rise and fall of the Governor, starting with Rise of the Governor. But if you want something a little more sci-fi, there's actually a zombie Star Wars horror novel called Death Troopers by Joe Schreiber, and it features some classic Star Wars characters that I would never spoil here, no spoilers, or perhaps even the zombie survival guide from the author of World War Z, Max Brooks, that offers handy hints and tips to stay on top in a zombie apocalypse. Or, just pick a book that you want. I don't know, there's a ton. Also, it has this thing called Whisper Sync, where you can switch between reading and listening, and it remembers where you were at in a program when you jump between the two. I don't know how it works. Probably microchips or whatever. So that's audible.com/Sunday. It's linked below. There's a free book. I said that, but it holds true. Check it out if you can. And here's the winner of last week's Loot Crate. Just private message me these details if you're that person, and I'll tee it up. Not a problem. And if you want to win this week's box, just leave any comment below. Maybe that comment could be about The Walking Dead, because I'd love to know your thoughts on the show in general. Is it just me? Is it a great show and am I expecting too much of it? What am I doing? What's wrong with me? Tell me. And below in the description is a link to my podcast, The Weekly Planet, where every Monday we talk movies and comics and TV shows. It's a real fun time, some of the time. But thanks for watching this. I appreciate it. Take care.